Mr. Katta, nice to see you there, because till now it seems the TMC had maintained quite a distance from your own MP, Mahua Moitra. Is the TMC standing besides her? What's the take now?
Clearly, Preeti, we never went away from her. The TMC was always with her and behind her, and TMC is still with her and behind her. We just refrained from commenting on the media because, it is against the allegations are against the rights and privileges of a parliamentarian. So we thought it should be probed by the appropriate authority of the parliament. But now we discover that there is an ethics-less, compromised, chauvinist committee that is hell-bound on, suspending or expelling an opposition member of parliament because she's one of the loudest voices in the parliament who constantly, day in, day out, expose the illegal nexus between Mr. Modi and Mr. Adani. So, but saying that Ms. Mahua Moitra is quite capable of fighting her own battles, I have only 3 pertinent questions. I am very happy personally to see the Ethics Committee and the Lokpal still alive and kicking in this country. But my question is, when you are so proactive against Ms. Mahua Moitra, why are you not proactive against Ramesh Biduri? Why are you not proactive against Nishikant Dubey himself, the complainant here, for allegations of fake degrees and certificates? Why are you not proactive against Shubhendu Adhikari in the Daroda Sharoda scam? Question number 2, the Ethics Committee clearly said today that we are recommending the Speaker for expulsion of Ms. Mahua Moitra, and we want an investigation by a national investigating agency, right? So before the investigation is over, before it is being proved whether there is a cash for query angle or not, because the Ethics Committee does not have any criminal jurisdiction, how can you just recommend for somebody's expulsion? And point number 3, the most important point, and I am not bringing the journalist into the dock, or I'm not complaining on the journalism part of it, but it is a clear violation of Rule 275 that before a draft has been adopted by the Ethics Committee, it is leaked to the public media. Can you imagine what a farce and nonsensical Ethics Committee proceeding this has been? And the last but not the least, Mr. Darshan Hiranandani, based on whom this Ethics Committee has done this entire natak and drama, on once he has not been called. So at this moment is just his word against her word, and you have already given your judgment.
Okay, Riju Datta, you've made your point. I want to cut across to the BJP spokesperson, Dr. Guru Prakash Paswan. 2 questions. One, which was raised by Ms. Mahua Moitra herself, where she said that even before, it was tabled, the draft of the Ethics Committee was leaked to the media. And is this ethical? Now, away from that, the second question, which I would reckon many would also want to ask Dr. Guru Prakash Paswan. Yes, completely right, because if Mahua Moitra is guilty, she should be expelled. But then what comes of somebody who stood on the floor of the parliament denigrating and making highly communal slurs?
Preeti, the case of Mahua Moitra has to be one of the most saddest and disappointing moment in the history of Indian Parliament. This is a clear-cut case of conflict of interest. We very well remember that in 2005, 11 members of parliaments were suspended on the same ground. We all have that darkest memory of cash for query scam, and the amount was just 10,000 rupees. Number 2, all the evidences here, Preeti, they strongly suggest and demonstrate that she breached the parliamentary ethics and rules. We have to understand that as a member of parliament, Mahua was part of critical standing committees on health and family welfare, personal data protection, communications and IT. Mr. Hiranandani, who in his sworn affidavit has said that she was working in pursuance of Mr. Hiranandani's corporate interest. Now, as a member of the Standing Committee of Personal Data Protection Bill, where Mr. Hiranandani's company is clearly making some recent investment on data centers, I mean, this is enough. This is sufficient evidence to suggest that Madam Mahua Moitra is pursuing corporate agenda. This exactly is a classical definition, a classical case, and a classical example of crony capitalism. Madam Mahua Moitra is the face of crony capitalism in India today. And second, and the most important thing, Preeti, that we must understand, that once you get the login credential of a member of parliament, it is not exclusively about posting questions. It also gives you access to some critical confidential documents, draft notes, draft bills, and so on and so forth. So here it's a question mark on the integrity, on the sanctity of the Indian Parliament as well. So when I say that this has to be one of the most disappointing hours of the Indian Parliament, we have to understand that as an MP, as an elected representative, you are supposed to raise the concerns, voice the questions of your electorate. Somewhere in West Bengal, a family is having some difficult policy implementation issue. You are there not to represent some corporate interest, but you are there to represent that family in Bengal, and you are not clearly doing your job. Article 105 of the Indian Constitution empowers the Indian Parliament to do this job. But Madam Mahua Moitra is clearly not doing this job. Second and the most important point, Preeti, if you allow me some time, this exactly reflects the feudal mindset of the elite establishment today. Mr. Vinod Sonkar, who comes from a Dalit community, is the chairperson of the most relevant and the most significant ethics committee. And the sort of language, the sort of conduct by Madam Mahua Moitra, which was admitted by one of the ethics committee member, and in the proceedings also it came out that it reflects the feudal mindset that you cannot see, you cannot accept the fact that today a Dalit, a marginalized and erstwhile untouchable is a member of the ethics committee, is the chairperson of the ethics committee and is posing some questions to you. So Madam Mahua Moitra has a lot of questions to answer, a lot of introspection.
But
if she goes unpunished, Preeti, then it sets a very bad precedent for the Indian Parliament.
Okay, I'm going to cut across to the TMC spokesperson, but Dr. Paswan, coming back for, another quick question. If Mahua Moitra is guilty of capital cronism, then she should be expelled, and rightly so. On the other hand, you have somebody like Mr. Biduri, who lives in Plush Defence Colony in Delhi, and, is not marginalized in any way, who stood on the floor of the parliament and made the most communal slur. So somebody who's standing outside and looking at what's going on and said, yes, Mahua Moitra, what you did was unethical. How do you define somebody like a Mr. Biduri getting away with absolutely nothing but a rap on his knuckles, sir?
No, I don't agree with this, Preeti, and obviously there was some reprimand that happened with respect to Mr. Biduri's case, but you are comparing apples and oranges. The mandate of the ethics committee is different. You're just deflecting. This is the clear-cut tactics of diversion and deflection from the real topic. The real topic here is the confluence of interest. The real topic here is crony capitalism. What Mr. Biduri did or said was unprofessional, unparliamentary. That's a different case altogether. But the comparison of Mahua Moitra and Ramesh Biduri is clearly a diversionary technique. Mr. Biduri did not represent any corporate interest. There was no sworn affidavit against Mr. Biduri. But in this case, Mahua Moitra, as a member of the standing committee, was in a place of position to influence and further the interest of Hiran Andani Group. This is crony capitalism at its very best. This is the classical example of crony capitalism, and this comparison is clearly a diversionary tactic with which we do not agree.
Riju Datta, 30 seconds.
Which is unwarranted in this
All
case.
right, but not many would think it's unwarranted, Dr. Paswan, because it happened on the floor of the parliament. But having said that, Riju Datta, 20 seconds, please make your comments at the back of what Mr. Paswan answered.
Point by point answer. He spoke, my dear friend spoke about the saddest and the darkest moment of parliament. The saddest and the darkest moment of the parliament was not today, was when a molester, a declared molester by Delhi police, Bhushan Saran Singh, sits in those same walls. The saddest day was when a declared murderer,
10 seconds,
Mr. Tenny, sits there. The face of crony capitalism is not Mahua Moitra, it's Mr. Narendra Modi. Let me make it very clear. And when you talk about Mr. Sonkar and Dalit, can a Dalit not be a criminal? Can a Dalit not be a compromise? Does a Dalit get the right to ask a woman, "Aap kiske saath the?"